everyone and welcome back. So today we are continuing our Function Ready series and looking at a song that's actually been requested by some of the viewers. If you're interested in being part of the conversation, then head over to the Perfunctionist page on Facebook, where I sometimes ask for requests and you can make your own requests and maybe I'll have a look at them and make some content out of it. So I'm always looking for some new ideas. So head on over to Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, Pinterest and newly Twitter. So I'm still a bit new to Twitter and Pinterest. So if you have any tips on how to use them and make the most out of them, please let me know, because I'm all ears. I'm very interested in learning. Right, let's have a look at this song then. So what song is it? Well, I'll give you a clue. What month am I recording this in? Well, it depends when you're watching. You might not know, but it is currently September. And that is the name of the song we're looking at today, September by Earth, Wind and Fire. So this one is commonly played on the function scene. It's just a good song anyway, so you might want to learn it just for fun, because it's a fun song. It's my favourite Earth, Wind and Fire song, so I'm happy to be doing this one today. Let's get started. So as you saw in the intro, there's about 3 different guitar parts happening. Well, actually, there's about 2 guitar parts, and the third part was the keyboard part, which you may have to learn if you are the only guitarist in the band, if you're playing this as the only guitarist in the band. So let's break these 3 sections down and let's check it out now. Right, so you'll hear this right at the very beginning of the song, and you'll also hear it through the verses as well, and I think through some of the choruses too. So what's happening here? It's all on the G string, and we're just playing. I'll just tell you the frets. So we're starting on the 6th fret, and then 4th fret, and then 2nd fret, and then we're going 4th fret again. 3 of them, I think. And then 1 on the 1st fret, 2 on the 2nd fret. So all together, I'll play it with 1 finger. You might have noticed that at the very beginning, I slide into it. So you're just sliding into that 6th fret. I'm going from the 2nd fret. I'm not sure if it matters too much where you're sliding in from, as long as you're sliding into the 2nd fret. Sorry, sliding into the 6th fret. 2nd time. 3rd time. And on the 4th time, we're going to play this A11 chord. So this chord here is basically, it's a G chord with an A in the bass. So I've got my kind of G triad here. You may have seen this chord before. It's basically that chord, but I'm going to replace my 3rd finger with my little finger, and then use my 3rd finger on this A note here, so 5th fret on the low E string. I'm not playing the A string or the high E string, but what happens is, and it's quite natural for this chord, your 3rd finger will kind of naturally block this A string, so you get nothing, and your 1st finger can naturally blocks the high E string, you get nothing. So all you get, if I play all 6 strings, all you should get are the notes from this A11 chord. Special shout out to my old guitar teacher, Max Milligan, who not only showed me this song, and when I heard him play all these parts I'm about to show you, he also introduced me to this A11 chord, which he described as the Open University chord, which if you're old enough to remember late at night when they used to have these Open University programs on, I think it was on the BBC channels late at night, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and basically what Max said was just basically play any old 11 chords and stop, and that's basically your, I've said basically a lot, haven't I, the soundtrack to Open University. For example, welcome to Open University. So thanks, Max, for that and for initially getting me hooked onto the guitar parts for this song. It's also, by the way, just to kind of jump into another song, it's also the beginning of what's the name of that song again? Never Too Much by Luther Vandross. Yeah, recognise that? Right, so we've got 4 times on these single notes. Sorry, 3 times, and then on the 4th time, we've got our A11 chord. And I'm kind of separating the bass note from the G triad, the low and the high. That kind of rhythm. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm assuming at this level you're probably good enough to figure out that rhythm for yourself. If you're not sure, have a listen to the track for any kind of deviations on how I might be playing it compared to the track. And that is the intro for that guitar part. Let's look at the other parts for that intro. So in terms of notes, this is quite easy. It's only one note. It's this high A note, which I'm playing on the B string at the 10th fret. But what makes this a bit more tricky, if you're not used to this style of music, is kind of the right hand part. And there's a left hand component as well. But let's look at the rhythm first. Let's build up the information. So it goes along the lines of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, obviously, that doesn't sound particularly funky. It doesn't sound much like the original. I slowed it down a little bit just so it's not too fast and you could hear it a bit more clearly. So that's the rhythm. Just play it a bit faster, up to speed, and that's the rhythm. But what makes this part sound the way it does is the scraping, is all of that, which is you're basically playing the bit I just played and also this. At the same time. So your right hand is basically going to play what I just played there, but your left hand is going to press down on that note when necessary, when those notes need to come out. You need to use your other finger. So for this, I'm using my 3rd finger to play the note, and I'm using my 1st and 2nd fingers to kind of keep the other strings quiet as I scrape over those strings. I'm kind of using my thumb as well. But my right hand's not really playing the thicker string. I'm kind of aiming for the higher strings, obviously around the B string, which is where the note is coming from. But I'm just generally aiming in that area. Everything else that doesn't need to be played is muted, or should be muted. So you should get that sound. Let me play it for you. Okay, so you want to make sure that this note comes out when it needs to, and you do that by pressing your finger down when you play it, and when you're not playing it, you just lift it up again and you get that. When you press it down, you can hear that kind of crunchy sound that comes with it. That's what kind of makes funk funky, or one of the things that makes funk guitar sound like that. You're kind of creating this groove underneath it, this kind of timing, this pocket that the note itself is kind of sitting on top of. Okay, otherwise you just get Morse code. You don't want Morse codes. You want funk. So if I slow this down, notice how my right hand constantly moving with the 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you speed it up, so that bit there only happens at the very beginning in the intro, just before the groove comes in. Once you've done that, you don't need to play that for the rest of the song. So let's have a look at this 3rd guitar part. So this bit is basically the keyboard part, the piano part, and it's outlining the chords. So the chords are D major 7, C sharp minor 7, B minor 7. So that's kind of the rhythm. Back to the C sharp minor 7, F sharp minor. Two of those. On the third one, it's the same, except we're going to change that C sharp minor 7, at least when we come back to it, we're going to change that to a C sharp dominant 7. So this is the third time round. Okay, so that is the first time you kind of outline that chord change. Let's do this bit again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the introduction, but it's also the verse. So a little bonus here is that everything that I've just shown you so far works for the verse as well, obviously except for this bit. As I said, that bit only happens during the introduction, but the other bits and those work during the verse as well. Okay. But there is one extra part in the verse which we haven't looked at yet. So let's look at that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So this is the bit I really latched onto when Max Milligan showed it to me and the rest of the class all those years ago. So what's happening here? We have, starts off with dyads, so kind of 2-note chords. So on the G and B strings, we have the 11th and 10th fret respectively. And then I'm going to use my 3rd and 2nd finger for that, for those chords. And for the next chord, I'm going to use my 1st finger to do a little mini bar on the same 2 strings at the 9th fret. And then also at the 7th fret. Okay, I'm sure you can figure that bit out. That rhythm. So you get, and it comes in on the 2. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. What comes next? This bit I'm kind of adding in. I don't think it's actually on the recording, but you kind of don't want to just play and then sit there for another couple of seconds before it comes back in again. So if you want to kind of do something that fits, that sits nicely, even though you're not necessarily playing anything there, I just like to add the chords in. So it's a C sharp minor chord, which I play like this, then an F sharp minor chord, F sharp minor 7 chord, and I'll slightly vary the way I play this. That's the kind of the full version of the chord I'm playing there. Sometimes I'll make those 2 chords a bit smaller. So I'm kind of doing this. I'm kind of doing that version sometimes. So, it depends on how you're feeling. But all these parts sit really nicely in that section. So that goes around until you play the A11 chord. On the record, it doesn't come back in again, the bit we just played. That doesn't come back in again. However, when I play this live, I tend to put that in because, I don't know, I like the part and it doesn't hurt the song to do it round for the rest of that verse. Second verse, I don't play it. I play another part, which I'll talk about in a minute. So let's put this all together. So for this part of the verse, for the first verse, or if you want to be authentic to the original, the first half of the first verse goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So you might have noticed there that I put in that C sharp 7 chord as well. Let's just quickly go over that now. So it's on the third time round, it's exactly the same part, but then you've got this C sharp dominant 7 chord, which you can play as a bar chord. As you saw a second ago, I played it like this, like a D-shaped chord. It's the same notes. I'm just taking these 3 notes and just changing my fingering of it. If I want to be a bit more like Jimmy, if I want to channel the spirit of Jimi Hendrix, I can bring my thumb over and play that the C sharp 7 chord that way. Then everything else is the same. The F sharp minor 7 is however you want to play it. Last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, so just a quick note about the second verse. So when the second verse comes in, basically you're playing this guitar part. This is the one that stands out the most. And that just basically happens throughout the entire second verse. We still have the chords there. So if you're the only guitarist in the band and there's no keyboard player, you might want to play the full bar chords for that part instead. So to see how it feels in the band, just to kind of fill out the sound a bit more. If you're lucky enough to have a keyboard player, and if you're lucky enough to have a horn section, that's amazing. Then yeah, stick to this part. All right, so let's have a look at this chorus then. Right, so you're just basically for this part playing the chords for the chorus and just following the groove of the song. So what chords am I playing here? I'm starting from the B minor 7 chord to an E to a C sharp minor 7 to a F sharp minor 7. Second time the same thing. Third time, the C sharp minor 7 becomes a dominant 7 as it has earlier on, and that sounds like this. And then to the A11 chord. So that's all the sections you need for the guitar. There are some interesting vocal parts that change throughout the song, but let's have a quick look at the structure of the song. So September starts with the introduction, which is the bit we did right at the beginning, with the 3 different guitar parts going on at the same time. Then we go into the first verse, where we have this bit, and then the first chorus, and then the second verse, where we want to stick to. And then goes to the second chorus, and then there's a bunch of other parts that happen, but basically, in terms of the chords, you're playing the chorus chords for the rest of the song. The song itself fades out, so depending on how your band is going to end it, that's up to you and your band. But in terms of the chords, unless you're doing anything kind of particularly different, on the original, it's just basically the same chords, the B minor 7 section, for the rest of the song. You can just carry on playing that for the rest of the song if you're sticking to the original arrangement of the song. So what equipment do you want to use for this? It's quite a bare bones song. You don't need too much, and I haven't got too much going on here either. For this one, I've used my Fender Telecaster. I've got the kind of middle pickup, so it's the 2 pickups in parallel, so I've got the middle position for that kind of quacky sound. I'm not sure. I don't think this is the guitar that was used on the original. It's probably something like a 335, perhaps. I don't actually know. I'm just kind of guessing. But this Telecaster has that kind of sound. It's not too harsh on the ears, and it kind of sits nicely, and it's got that kind of funky sound. And then in terms of pedals, all I've got is a compressor pedal, and I'm using the SP compressor by Exotic Effects. And what I like about this one, it's nice and easy to use, and it's got a blend knob. I kind of like blend knobs on compressors. Which means basically you can blend in the dry signal. And why would you want to do that? Well, what I've noticed with other pedals that don't have this feature is that sometimes it just sounds a bit, almost like there's a snap or a top end that's kind of missing, and that's because the whole signal is compressed. So a way to get around that problem is to have a blend knob, which blends in some of the dry signal, and it kind of brings back some of that, kind of, to my ears, it kind of brings back some of the top end and snap, and it just basically sounds better to my ears. And then apart from that, all I've got is a reverb, and I'm just using a room reverb on the Hall of Fame 2 by TC Electronic. Just choose that to taste. In a mix, you're probably not going to hear it too much, unless maybe if you're on in-ears. But I've just added a bit of room reverb. Can you hear that? So that is September by Earth, Wind and Fire, one of my favourite songs, probably my favourite song by Earth, Wind and Fire. So check the song out if you haven't heard it, and if you haven't heard it, you need to check it out. You should have heard it by now. Check it out, it's a great song. If this has been useful to you in any way, if you've gained anything from it, if there's been any value for you, then I would very much appreciate a like. Please feel free to comment if you have any questions, or if I've done anything wrong, or if you like what I've done, please let me know in the comments below. Obviously, subscriptions are wonderful. They really help the channel out. I'm still trying to grow this channel. So, subscribe, let your friends know, share this, and let me know what you think. And if you're interested in any of the gear that I mentioned, there's links in the description below. Apart from that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.